Do we have any more introductions before we start the class?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. This is Rakesh from India. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and assembled Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna, Rakesh Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dr. Prakash Parekh from Ahmedabad, India. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prakash Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I don't see Prabhuji on the call. Shall we do introduction, Mataji?
Yeah, I think Mataji, let's start with that. It's almost time, so I think Prabhuji would be in any time. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We're extremely fortunate to have His Grace Adi Bhagwan Prabhuji here with us today. And Prabhuji would be enlightening us by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12 and verse 8. But before we dive into this nectarine class, I will request Aditi Mataji to share a brief introduction about His Grace Adi Bhagwan Prabhuji. So Hare Krishna, Aditi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Over to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. And this is a brief introduction for His Grace Adi Bhagwan Prabhuji. Adi Bhagwan Prabhuji completed his B.Tech in Electronics and Communication from NTK, Surat in 2013. Earlier to joining Brahmachari Ashram, he established a coaching institute, Arjuna Academy, for training students for engineering and medical entrance exams. Inspired to take up the path of Bhakti Yoga by teaching of Bhagavad Gita, he joined ISKCON in 2017 as a Brahmachari. He is part of ISKCON NVCC Pune Brahmachari Ashram. He is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He has been speaking to the youth at various institutes like IITS, NITS, and other universities. He has been speaking to the congregation devotees at various festivals, Sunday feast programs, and house programs. He has interest in deeply studying Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy through the commentaries of Acharyas. He is also interested in Vedic research and music. He has completed the Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav courses. Thank you very much, Mataji. Over to you.
Thank you, Aditi Mataji, for sharing the introduction. Hare Krishna, Adi Bhagwan Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving us your valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very happy and very joyed to be with all of you in the Association of Bhakti Sangha Japa.
Prabhuji, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Your voice is very low, Prabhuji.
Just a minute, let me check. Okay. Is it better
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, now it's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very obliged and feel grateful to all the devotees who are attending here. Many of you are very senior devotees and have been practicing bhakti since years. So I seek all of your blessings for speaking today on Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttamah Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto. Let me share my screen. Okay. Is it visible to the devotees?
We can see the Zoom screen. Okay, yes, now it's visible.
Yeah. Now it must be visible, right? The Veda base.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yeah. So we are ready from the 12th chapter, text number 8. So I'll recite the shloka. Lokaha sapala yasye me swashanti vivasha vashe vija iva sicha baddha sakala iha karanam. Synonyms: Loka, the worlds; Sapalaha, with their chief deities or controllers; Yasya, of whom; Ime, all these; Swashanti, live; Vivashaha, fully dependent; Vashe, under the control; Dvijaha, birds; Iva, life; Sicha, by net; Baddhaha, bound; Saha, that; Kalaha, time factor; Iha, in this; Karanam, the cause. Translation: all living beings in all the planets of this universe, including the presiding deities of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They work like birds caught in a net who cannot move independently. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The difference between the Sura and the Asuras is that the Suras know that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Asuras cannot understand the supreme will of the Lord. In this fight, Vritrasura is actually the Sura, whereas Indra is Asura. No one can act independently. Rather, everyone acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, victory and defeat come according to the results of one's karma. And the judgment is given by the Supreme Lord, Karmana Daiva Naitrena. Since we act under the control of the Supreme according to our karma, no one is independent, from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. Whether we are defeated or victorious, the Supreme Lord is always victorious because everyone acts under his directions. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshushoन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरकृषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. I thank each and every one of you for joining today. And I would be very, very happy if I can see the videos are on and I will feel encouraged to speak. So if possible, maybe you can try to keep your videos on. Yeah. So today we are discussing from the 6th canto, chapter 12, text 8. So as we know, this section is going on where the fight is happening between the Vritrasura and Indra, as was discussed in the previous sessions. So in the today's text, the translation is all living beings in all the planets of this universe, including the presiding deities of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They work like birds caught in a net who cannot move independently. So all of you must be aware this shloka, this text is spoken by Vritrasur and it is spoken to Indra. So previous to this, as we know, the fight started and then Indra cut off the hand of Vritrasur through his thunderbolt. And in response, we can see that how Vritrasur attacked with his iron mace. And when he attacked with his iron mace, it was such a powerful, thunderous attack that Airavata fell down and Indra also fell off. And his thunderbolt also fell down from his hand. And he lost his confidence. So that's what we saw previously. And seeing that Indra has lost the confidence, so losing confidence in Thunderbolt was as good as losing confidence in the Lord Narayana, because it was made under the direction of Lord Narayana's instruction. And Indra himself went to Dadichi Muni, as we saw in the 10th chapter. He himself went to the Dadichi Muni and then he begged for his bones to get the thunderbolt made. And then we saw how thunderbolt was under the direction of Lord Narayana and he would have become victorious by this thunderbolt. But for the time being, Indra has lost confidence. And now the current section, what is going on, that is from the text 7 onwards, that is previous shloka onwards, the section is going on regarding how Vritrasur is trying to motivate Indra to have confidence, have faith in the Lord Narayana's instructions that this thunderbolt is itself going to kill me. Okay. And as Prabhupada is writing in this very beautiful purport, that the difference between the Suras and the Asuras is that the Suras know that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that person here? Prabhupada is explaining, that is Vritrasur. Even though in the title, we have Indra as the Sura, and as such, Vritrasur is born in the family of Asura, but by their qualities, by their activities, as Srila Prabhupada writes, one can understand who is a Sura, or who is a Asura, not by externals, but by his activities. Like when we recently had Ram Navami and we understood that how Ravana actually came to, take away Mother Sita. He changed his external dress in such a way that it looks very saintly, right? But ultimately, what was his activity and what was the qualities? So he had the quality of trying to enjoy Mother Sita, lusty activities. Whereas what were his activities? He tried to snatch away Mother Sita from Lord Ram. Okay, so by his activities, we can understand he is an Asura. That's what Srila Prabhupada also writes in the 7th canto, in the 1st chapter. If you see the first few shlokas, he writes the difference between Asura and Sura. There is a conversation between Narada Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So there he writes that the qualities and the activities of a person determine whether he is an Asura or a Sura. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining here. Okay, and then Asuras cannot understand the supreme will of the Lord. So even though Indra is in the dress of a Sura externally, but here he doesn't have faith in the instruction of the Lord, that the thunderbolt is the one which is going to help him kill Vritrasur actually, right? So in this fight, Vritrasur is actually Sura, yeah, and Indra is Asura. No one can act independently. Rather, everyone acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this particular statement of Srila Prabhupada is the basis for the next few shlokas of this whole section. He's explaining here that the Lord, that is the super soul, we can say, or we can say Daiva. Okay, that Daiva or the super soul, Paramatma, is actually the person under whose direction everyone acts. Okay, and therefore victory and defeat come according to the results of one's own karma, and judgment is given by the Supreme Lord. So this is a very, very important statement. I'll little bit elaborate on this, and then we will look into more into the discussion. So here two things are mentioned. The victory and defeat come according to the results of one's karma. Remember the previous statement Srila Prabhupada said here, everyone acts under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one acts independently. But we should understand in what sense everybody is acting under the direction. Okay, everybody has their own choice. They have their own free will to act, right? But we have to understand in what sense Prabhupada is mentioning here that everyone acts under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that Prabhupada is going to clarify here. So therefore, victory and defeat come according to one's results of one's own karma, right? So the person who is doing his activity, as we know from Bhagavad Gita, prakrite kriyamanani punah karmani sarvasha ahankara vimodatma kartaham iti manyate. So we have to understand that there are three types of doers actually. Okay, so the living entity thinks himself to be the performing doer. Okay, karta aham iti manyate. He thinks I am the performing doer, one who is performing. But what does Krishna say? Prakrite kriyamanani. So the material nature is actually accomplishing everything on behalf of the jiva. So what does jiva do? He desires. He desires, okay, I want to do this. So according to his desire and his deservance, whether he has the sufficient amount of sukriti to get such an result, the material nature will award. Okay. So here we understand that the jiva seems to be like the person who is desiring. So he is said to be the doer in the sense that he desires. So what do we say one word for that is that desiring doer. Okay. So the jiva is the desiring doer. And as we understood previously, prakriti kriyamanani. So prakriti is the performing doer. Okay. And then what is the next statement? The judgment is given by Supreme Lord. Karmana daiva netrena. So what is the meaning of that? The judgment or the sanction is given by the Supreme Lord. So what do we understand from this? As we know in the Bhagavad Gita, it says about the super soul. What is super soul? Upadrishta Anumanta. These two qualities I'll explain. Upadrishta means he is observing. Okay. He is observing that what the living entity is doing. Anumanta. And then he sanctions. So we'll see in Srila Prabhupada's purport also, in the Bhagavad Gita purport, which we will be referring, how the Supreme Lord is said to be the sanctioning doer. Okay. He is sanctioning the performance of the material nature, which is inspired by the desire of the living entity. So I explained three things here. I will summarize till now what I told. So the jiva is the desiring doer. He desires. Material nature is the performing doer on behalf of jiva. Okay. Material nature makes the thing or the activity happen. Okay. By its transformations, by its energies. And then third thing we saw that the Lord is the sanctioning doer. Okay. He sanctions the activities of the material nature, which is desired by the living entity. Okay. So I want to know how many of you understood this, what I spoke till now, the three types of the doers. Okay. So can you write in the chat box or give some reaction that you understood these three types of doer? If I get some reaction, I can see that, okay, somebody is there and somebody is listening. Otherwise, I feel it's very monologue kind of thing. Okay. Prahladanand Prabhu is raising hand. There is one person reacted. Okay. He has understood. Okay. Maybe you can react in the chat box. Okay. Okay. Rakesh Prabhu is there. Himi Mataji is there. Okay. Okay. Let me see how many of you understood. Yeah. Okay. So can you please say the jiva is said to be which kind of doer? Please write in the chat box or speak out. Okay. Which kind of doer did I say about the jiva?
Desiring.
Desiring
Yes,
doer.
yes, thank you. Yeah. So the jiva is desiring doer. Very nice. Okay. He desires. Okay. Then I spoke about the material nature, that is prakriti. So what kind of doer is the mother prakriti?
Performing.
Performing.
Performing doer.
Very nice. Very nice. Performing doer. She performs the activities on behalf of whom?
Jiva.
Sanctioner.
Jiva.
Yes, thank you. And then third thing I spoke was about the super soul or the Lord. He also is a kind of doer. But which kind of doer is he?
Sanctioning the
Sanctioning doer. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so all of you have very nicely understood what I said. So he is sanctioning doer. Thank you. So now one very special word that Prabhupada has written here is a judgment word, right? Yeah, generally we think that judgment is something like cruelty. But as we know, another nature of the super soul is that he is impartial. He is impartial to everyone, correct? So what does this judgment mean? Just like the very word judge, we have judge in the Supreme Court, High Court, or wherever. We understand what does he do? He gives the judgment based on the activity of the person. Correct? If he has done good thing, surely nobody goes to the court for doing good things. If they have done something good, they will be given Padma Bhushan or something. Yeah. But if the person is doing something bad, then he is taken to the law of court, and there the judgment is given as per the severity of his bad karma. Correct. So as per the severity of his bad karma, he is given the reaction. So the judgment is given by the judge, but who is responsible for his own suffering? The judge is responsible, or the living entity who performed the action?
One who performs.
Living entity.
Living entity, right? Correct. So it's not the judge. So similarly, Krishna is not responsible for the suffering or the enjoyment of the living entity. Okay. So Krishna only gives as they have desired, and then material nature performed based on their desire. Okay. Krishna only gave the results. So he only gives the judgment. Somebody wants, suppose we are serving prasadam, somebody wants 2 chapatis, we will give him 2 chapatis. Somebody wants 4, we will give him 4. So we are not partial from our side, correct, in giving 2 or 4. We are giving what they want, correct. Similarly, Lord Krishna also is giving what the living entities want. Okay, further, since we act under the control of the Supreme according to our karma, no one is independent. From Brahma down to the insignificant ant, nobody is independent, right? We have heard earlier also in Srimad Bhagavatam that how the Lord Indra, he supplies the rains to all the living entities by the fear of Supreme Lord. Agni, he provides the fire. And then we have seen that sun moves around because of the fear of the Supreme Lord. So all the living entities, what to speak of these demigods, okay, everyone is not acting independently, but acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so we are all under the control of the Supreme Lord, like that. So whether we are defeated or victorious, the Supreme Lord is always victorious because everyone acts under his directions. Okay, so everybody is acting under his direction. So that means he sanctions the activities of the various people. Okay, and then material nature performs it. So Lord is always victorious because everything is always running by the plan of the Lord. Okay, and then later in the last part of today's presentation, we will see also that there are some devotees who can control the Lord. Lord controls and gives direction to everyone, but there are few devotees who can control the Lord and give direction to the Lord himself also. Okay, so I'm going to present a PPT here in which we will discuss 2 themes. The first theme is that how this the factor of giving results of one's activity has 2, actually we can say the 2 dimensions. One is which is directly done by the material nature in one dimension, that is for the non-devotees. And then second thing, we will see that for the devotees, the material nature is acting, but Krishna is actually fully in control in giving the reactions to the devotees. Okay, he doesn't take it through the material nature, or he may take it also, but actually he is fully in control. But for the non-devotees, he has left them on the regular cycle of karma, which the material nature has to give. He doesn't take his self-interest into what is happening into their life. Okay, but for devotees, he takes self-interest. Okay, and then second part of the theme, we will see that how does Lord accomplish the reactions which are to be given to a living entity, and what are the different factors which affect the living entities doing or accomplishing a particular activity. Okay, that we will see from the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, that what are the 5 factors that the living entity can actually depend on for accomplishing a particular activity. Okay, so I'll share the PPT. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, is the PPT visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, this was the theme of today's discussion actually, which we started with Asra is enlightening the discouraged Indra. And then we discussed about the 8th verse. We will just quickly go through the 7th verse also, from where this theme started. Persons desiring to fight with weapons, but who are not dependent on the Lord. So who is Virtrasur speaking about? Not dependent on the Lord, that I have marked in red. Para Atmana, he is speaking about Indra. Okay, he is not completely dependent on the Lord, who are devoid of the one eternal omniscient Lord, who is controller of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Do not have continuous victory against enemies or even victory against one person. So, such people like Indra, who don't completely depend on the Lord, who is omniscient, eternal Lord, and controller of the creation, maintenance, and destruction, they cannot have continuous victory. And we see in the life of Indra that sometimes he is defeated by demons, asuras, like, Bali Maharaj's story we see that he is defeated and then he is removed from his post and the Bali Maharaj is ruling like that. Okay, so he is under the influence of the karma. Okay, he is not completely dependent on the Lord. So in the purport here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport, this is, I will just read out. So here he says, for those holding weapons, there is never victory at any time against enemies or even against one enemy, ekatra. Though you are always victorious over the demons, you are not victorious over me. Because just last verse we saw how Vritrasur had thrown his iron mace and then it was like fully Indra was in loss of confidence. This is because like you are not dependent on the Lord but on someone else. So that's what was told in the shloka, right? So Indra is not always victorious because he is not fully dependent on the Lord. Okay, but he depends on something else also. Yeah. But the Lord is always victorious. You cannot always have victory like Arjuna, who was completely dependent on the Lord. See, the example is also given of a devotee. That Arjuna was a very, very great devotee. And he was such a great devotee that he was completely dependent on the Lord. Correct? We can see that in Bhagavad Gita. And then what happens to him? He is always victorious. Correct? So he could win the war of the Virata, where he could single-handedly defeat the great warriors. And then later, even in the war of Kurukshetra, he could defeat everyone. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah. So this is today's shloka. So the time under whose control all planets and their devatas operate helplessly, like birds caught in a net, is the cause of your victory or defeat. So that's what he is saying, Vritrasur is saying to the Indra. So this is the translation of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So here he is mentioning one very important point. Please pay your attention that here is mentioning that what is the cause of Indra's victory or defeat. So he is saying time, under whose control all planet and their devatas operate. Mad bhayat vati vatoyam, Surya tapati mad bhayat, varshati Indro dahati agni, Nrityuscharti mad bhayat. That's the shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that how all the devatas and different energies, they are just out of fear performing their activities of the Supreme Lord. So here similarly is saying the time, Kala, under whose control, yasya vashe, all planets and their devatas, ime loka sapalaha. Sapala is all the demigods. Operate helplessly. Vivasha shvansanti. So they are vivasha. Helplessly they are performing. And then example is given. How? They are doing like birds caught in a net. Sicha baddha dvija iva. Dvija is twice born. So the twice born are also Brahmanas. Okay, because they are having a spiritual birth also. But the birds are also called dvija because first time they take birth in the form of the eggs. And then second time they take birth while hatching, coming out of the eggs. So they are also twice born. So they are called dvija. So like birds caught in a net, sicha baddha dvija iva, is the cause of your victory and defeat. So he is saying very clearly, see, you are not dependent completely on the Lord. So for your victory or defeat, Lord is not in control. Time is in control. And time is surely under control of Lord. But you are indirectly under the control of the Lord, not directly. So this is a theme which we are going to see, that devotees are directly under the control of the Lord. Their karma, their suffering and their happiness are directly under the control of the Lord. But those who are non-devotees, like here the example is given of Indra, he is Karma Mishra Bhakta at the time when the pastime was happening. Okay, so he is considered to be indirectly under the control of the Lord. That is like under the control of Lord's energy, that is time. So that's what we are going to understand. So Vishwanath Chakravarti writes in the commentary, time, operating according to good or bad karmas is the cause of defeat or victory for you. He is saying to Indra, who are dependent on karma. So earlier it was said that he is not fully dependent on karma, on Lord. Now it is said, what is he dependent else on? Karma. Apart from Lord, he is depending on his own endeavor. How can we understand? So this is not Vishnu Chadakar's commentary, but I have written an example here so that I can speak, otherwise I would forget. So here he is saying that Indra, he is disturbing Prithu Maharaj while he was trying to perform the 100th Ashwamedha Yagya, right? Why? He was not having complete faith on the plan of the Lord. Prithu Maharaj had. He stopped at the 99th Yagya because he understood that not performing the 100th Yagya will give pleasure to the Lord. Correct? Sacrifice is done to please the Lord. But in this, we can understand that Lord is more pleased by not doing the 100th Yagya. That's what Prithu Maharaj understood. But Indra, he could not understand such things because he was not completely dependent on the Lord. Okay. So he was dependent on his own karma. And then Vishwanath Chandrakar writes, time under whose control all persons move like birds caught in a net is the cause. Okay. So for Indra, who is the cause of his results of victory and defeat? Time. And that time is itself the control of all the persons except the devotees. Okay. So till now we saw this point actually. Time has dual portfolio. That means it has two, we can say, faces. One is Karma Sachiva, which ordains the results of one's own karma. And another one is Daiva Sachiva, which ordains the will of the Lord. Okay, what is the will of the Lord for devotees that comes into their life, happiness or suffering. Okay, and then the first one, as we saw, Karma Sachiva, that is results of one's own karma, victory or defeat according to the super soul's sanction, according to the time's governance, like that. Okay, so till now we have seen this. Okay, so I hope all of you are with me and you have got the point till now. Okay, so now we are going to discuss one by one these two portfolios. Okay, so I am going to quote here from the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a conversation between, you know, all know that Bhishma Dev is lying on the battlefield, and then Krishna, knowing that Bhishma Dev is a reservoir of all the knowledge who can speak and pacify Yudhishthira Maharaj, even though Krishna could have pacified Yudhishthira Maharaj, but he refrained to do it to show the glory of Bhishma Dev. He understood that Bhishma Dev has sacrificed so much, as we all know that he was fighting on the side of the enemy. And then we can understand that how Bhishma Dev, he is now lying on the Bana Shayya, the bed of arrows. And then now Krishna has taken all the Pandavas well decorated like the kings, and then he is going to make Bhishma Dev address Yudhishthira Maharaj's despondence. And we know what is the despondence in the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj. That is, Yudhishthira Maharaj is feeling that I am the cause of all the people who have died in this battlefield because I was selfish. What was the selfishness I had in my heart? That selfishness was that I want to become king. Out of humility, he is thinking like this. He is not actually having such desires in his heart while fighting. He is thinking that out of humility, okay, that I am the culprit. Okay, and now Krishna has brought Pandavas in front of Bhishma Dev. And then also another reason is he wants to bring out the glories of Bhishma Dev, that how he is such a great devotee. And then third reason is that he wants to show and give a pacification to Bhishma Dev that you see the Pandavas are very, very worthy to rule the kingdom. So don't be, non-pacified, that, oh, aggrieved, that, oh, how will the kingdom go on? Yeah, so they are very much worthy of ruling the kingdom. So let's read. So 9th chapter, 12th verse, first canto. So here he says, Aho kashtam, aho anyayam, yadiyuyam dharmanandanaha, jivitum nartha klishtam, vipra dharma achyut ashrayaha. Oh, Yudhishthira, dharmanandanaha, having the shelter of Brahmans, Dharma and Krishna, vipra, dharma, achyuta. These three, they have ashraya. You should not live. You should not live your life in suffering. Yad yuyam na arhata jivitum klishtam. Klishtam is suffering. Arhata, to live. Okay. And since that is dangerous and improper. Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. So he is saying that, oh, my dear Yudhishthira Maharaj, you have got the shelter of the Brahmanas, Dharma, and Krishna. You should not all be living in suffering. That is dangerous and improper. So what does Vishwanath Chakravarti explain? He is saying the words dangerous, kashtam, and improper, anyayam, do not really apply to the king. Even though the shloka is saying that kashtam and anyayam, but it doesn't apply to the king Yudhishthira Maharaj. Then whom does it refer to? To whom do they refer? The improper situation has arisen because of Vishnu, the mover and maintainer of the whole universe. You should not live your life in suffering. If others live like that, that is their concern. Okay, that's what he's explaining. This improper situation is arisen in your life because of Lord Vishnu, that is Narayana, that is Krishna, who is just standing here. Why? Because he is the mover and maintainer of the whole universe. And you should not be living in suffering. Okay. So he is saying in the next shloka, Samsthite tirthe pandav vitha bala prajav vadhuh vishmat krite bahun kleshan prapta tokavati muhu. When the great warrior Pandu died, Samsthite atirathe Pandu, the wife Kunti with young children, Vitha, Bala, Praja, Vadhu, constantly underwent many difficulties. Muhu, Muhu means constantly, again and again. Bahun, many difficulties. Kleshan, difficulties. Prapta to uktavati. In raising you since you were young at that time, Vishmat Krite. So Vishwanath Chakravarti explains. So now, previous shloka he said, oh, you should not be suffering. And that suffering is actually because of the Lord Vishnu, who is the controller. So he is saying, what was the suffering? This verse is describing. Okay. So what is the suffering? Being alone with young children causes much suffering. Though you are now grown up, she underwent great suffering with you as a young child. And we know there are another shlokas, set of shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam, how the Pandavas, they were poisoned, they were sent to the Virata, and then the kingdom was taken away, they were sent to the forest for exile. So many troubles they underwent. And then next he says, Sarvam kala kritam manne bhavatam cha yada priyam sapale yadvashe loko vayur iva ghanavalihi. So here is the text which is considering the today's theme. Okay. So I consider manne. So Bhishma Devi is speaking that this which is unwelcome, yad apriyam. Priyam is welcoming or which is loving. Apriyam is the opposite of that, unwelcome. Okay. Has all been done to you by time. Bhavatam sarvam kala kritam. The kala is the krita. It's all the kritya of a kala. So the time has brought this for you, which controls the world. Yad vashe lokaha. That's what we saw in today's commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti, that how the time is the one who is giving the results for all the people who are not completely dependent on the Lord, right? Yad vashe lokaha. And its protectors, sa palaha. So the world's protectors, they are demigods. They are also under the control of the time, just as the wind controls the clouds. And the analogy is given. How the time is controlling? That wind is pushed by the clouds, like that. Vayur iva ghanavalihi. So like that, the time is working in your life. Okay. So is there somebody who can read the commentary? If somebody can volunteer to read, it will be nice. I can have some interaction then. Yeah, maybe somebody can volunteer.
What is the cause?
Can
Hare
I
Krishna.
go ahead?
Yes, Mataji, continue.
What is the cause?
Yeah, Mataji, okay, you can continue. Okay, maybe Rakesh Prabhu has raised hand. Okay, so let me give chance to somebody who has raised hand.
Yeah,
Okay,
Hare Krishna,
Rakesh
Prabhu.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, yes,
Yeah.
please read.
What is the cause of our suffering?
Yeah.
It cannot be said, since I do not see either recent or old karmas as the cause. Therefore, Bhishma speaks words of the common people. But time is simply the substratum of the experience of happiness and distress, which are prarabdha karma. Thus, when you say that time is the cause, time is acting as as an assistant. So why do you not just say clearly that our suffering is our prarabdha karma resulting from our sins? Hare Krishna.
So this is like Vishwanath Chakravarti's insight to the scene, that what is the conversation happening between Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthira Maharaj. It's not written in the shloka, but this is a conversation which Vishwanath is able to see through his insight. What is he saying? So what is the cause of suffering? So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking. So in reply it is said, it cannot be said, since I do not see either recent or old karmas as the cause. Therefore Bhishma speaks words of the common people. What are the words of the common people? That time, it's the time who is actually bringing the results to your life as suffering or happiness. So, but the time is simply the substratum, right, of the experience of happiness and distress, which are prarabdha karmas. Okay, just like it's a superficial layer, right? What does time carry? So it said that time is like the conveyor belt. You must have all seen the conveyor belt, right? It just goes round. So whatever you put on one end of the conveyor belt, that same product is going to come out on the other end if it is unprocessed. Just it's going to rotate, correct? So whatever we keep on the one end, the other end is going to receive the same. So whatever activity we do in the past, the result of that activity is going to come in future. So who is the agent of bringing our own karma? Is the time. That much only. Time is not the cause. It's only superficial cause. It's only immediate cause. But actually what is the cause is our own past good or bad deeds. That's what is bringing the result. Time is not the cause. So then he says, thus, when you say that time is the cause, time is acting as an assistant only. It is not the actual cause. So then he says, oh, why do you not just say clearly that our suffering is our prarabdha karma resulting from our sins? Yudhishthira Maharaj is claiming that to Bhishma Dev, that okay, you just say that okay, we are suffering because of our own past sins, our own past karma. Why do you have to take the name of time and put a sugar coating on that? That no, you are not the cause, time is the cause, right? Not like that. So you just say clearly that okay, our sins are the cause. Like that he says. Okay. Yeah, continue, Prabhuji. Yes, Rakesh. Yeah. Or okay, anybody else can read maybe. Yeah. Yeah, Sujata Mataji. Yes. Yes, Sujata Mataji.
Yudhishthira is well known as the direct incarnation of Dharma. If Dharma, Yudhishthira has prarabdha karmas, how can he have any sense of Dharma?
Right.
The cause is not karma, but time, which cannot be countered and cannot be explained.
Yes, so very important point. He is saying Yudhishthira is himself known as the direct incarnation of Dharma. He is Dharmaraj. Correct? If Dharma, Yudhishthira has prarabdha karmas, how can he have any sense of Dharma? He should be above the rules, above the all the karma. Correct? To judge others' karma. The cause is not karma. So here he is clarifying. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that cause of the suffering is not karma, but time, which cannot be countered and cannot be explained. So he is saying surely time is the cause, not karma. Correct? Time is the cause, not karma. So which phase of time is the cause? That's what we are going to see in life of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Time is in general conveyor belt, which only brings out what was our past activity, good or bad, and then it brings out to one's life. But in case of Yudhishthira Maharaj, it is clearly said that time is surely acting, but the time is not carrying the karma, bad and good karma of him. Okay. So now let's see what is actually time carrying. Yeah. Yatra dharma suto raja gada pani vrikodaraha Krishno astri gandivam chapam surit krishnastato vipat. Yeah. So Vipat, you are lamenting where there is Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, Yatra Dharma Suto Raja, Bhima, holder of the club, Gadapani, Vrikodaraha, Arjuna, holder of the bow Gandiva, Krishna Astri Gandivam Chapam. Krishna here refers to Arjuna. Okay. And then he is holding Gandiva. And Surit Krishna, yeah, your friend Krishna, these all people are there. And then why are you lamenting is the Bhishma Dev's objection. My dear Yudhishthira, why are you lamenting? You have You are yourself actually the Dharmaraj. Bhishma is the most powerful warrior. Arjuna is the most skillful warrior. And then Lord Krishna himself, he is your friend. So Vishwanath Thakur says, he quotes a shloka from Kapil Dev section. Na karichit matparaha santarupe. So we'll read the translation. The devotees in the spiritual world, matparaha shantarupe, are never deprived of any enjoyment. Na karichit na anakshanti. My wheel of time does not afflict those devotees, na animisho heti, na ledi, for whom I am yesham aham, a lover, the Atma, Priyatma, the son, friend, Sutaha, Chasakha, elder, companion, Guru, Suhrida, or worshipable deity, Daivam Ishtam. So this is 3rd canto, 25th chapter, shloka number 38. He says that the devotees in the spiritual world are never deprived of any enjoyment. Okay, my wheel of time does not afflict those devotees. He is quoting in the context of Yudhishthir Maharaj. That Yudhishthir Maharaj is surely a very, very dear devotee of the Lord. One among these, he is friend, he is elder, he is respectable of Lord Krishna. Correct? So, the wheel of time does not afflict those devotees for whom I am a lover, Atma, son, friend, elder, companion, or worshipable deity, even Daivam. Even if they are worshipping the Lord, they are not under the control of time. Okay. But they are under the control of the Lord himself. Like that is it. Yes. Okay. Somebody can volunteer to read the purport here. Yeah, maybe you can raise hand. Yeah. Okay. Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Yeah, please. Yeah. So I'll just unmute you. Yes, Mataji. Yeah, please read. We are not able to hear.
How then could time attack the Pandavas who were filled with Dasya, Sakya, and Vatsalya for Krishna? This is most astonishing. Without a cause, time has produced effects whose cause we must infer, but which look similar to karma. That is the intention of this verse. Though you have strength of piety, strength of body, strength of skill, strength of scriptural knowledge, strength of friends, and strength of wealth, still you lament.
Yeah. So very, very clearly he is saying that this is most astonishing. You are among the very, very close friends of Lord Krishna. Okay. And then without a cause, time has produced effects. So time is surely producing effects. But whose cause we must infer. We should understand what it is. But surely it is looking similar to karma. It is not karma. Because you are all beyond the karma. Okay, time is surely carrying the suffering or happiness for you. But it is not the karma who is actually acting through time. It is something else. That's what he's saying. This is the intention of this verse. Okay, though you have strength, piety, and all these things, still you lament. Okay, let's go ahead and see what further Bhishma Deva has to say. So now he says that who can understand? Nahi asya karichid rajan puman ved vidhitsitam yad vijigyasaya yukta muhyanti kavayo apihi. O king Rajan, no one can understand. Puman nahi karichid veda. Veda means to know, right? To understand. Karichid, never, no one, no person, no puman is a person. The plan of Krishna, asya vidhitsitam. Because yad, even those engaged in reasoning and scripture, vijigyasaya yukta kavya api. Even the great learned scholars, kavya, they are bewildered by that inquiry. Muhyantihi. What is the plan of the Lord? They are bewildered. Okay. So yeah, here somebody can volunteer to read.
So what should I conclude?
Yeah.
Here is the general conclusion. Everyone agrees that no one can interfere with the plan of the Krishna, and no one can even understand what his plans are even today. No person starting with Brahma and Shiva knows the plan of the Lord. What to speak of me? Maybe no one knows, but inquiry is necessary. Does he want to give us suffering? Does he want to give us joy?
Yeah, does he want to
Does
give
he
us
want to
something?
give us suffering or happiness?
Yeah,
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
yeah, continue.
Thus, it cannot be the first, because then his quality of being affectionate to his devotees would be cancelled. It cannot be the second option, because we have not seen any happiness. It cannot be the third option, because that would be contradiction to his kind nature. It is finally decided that one cannot solve the problem by inquiry. Thus, the verse says that even those who use their intelligence to discriminate and those use knowledge of scripture are bewildered by inquiry.
Yeah, so 3 options were given. Does the Lord want us to undergo suffering? Does he want us to have joy? Or he wants to have both? So all the 3 were not accepted. First cannot be, because then his quality of being affectionate to his devotee would be cancelled. He is always affectionate to devotees. How can he allow them to suffer? And then it cannot be second option also, because he has not seen any happiness in his life till now, Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then third option is also contrary to his compassionate nature. That's what he says. So, and then next shloka. Now how should we understand then? So Vishnudev says, Tasmad idam deva tantram vevasya bharata rishabha tasyanu vihito anatha natha pahi praja prabho. O master Natha, O controller Prabhu, O best of Bharata lineage, Bharata rishabha. Therefore, tasmad, discerning vevasya, that the suffering and happiness is dependent only on Krishna. Idam daiva tantram. So this is the word which was put in the beginning of the slide. If you remember, karma sachiva and daiva sachiva. So daiva tantram is the word used by here Vishnudev. That the suffering and happiness is depending only on Krishna. Follow him. Tasya anuvihito, and protect the helpless citizens. Anatha praja pahi. Now don't lament. Go and protect the citizens. Okay. And understand that happiness is only, and that suffering is also given by the Lord himself. So he says in the commentary, discern vevasya, that this happiness and suffering is dependent on the Lord, daiva tantra. But understand that the purpose of giving happiness and distress to his devotees is not easily understood. For whom? Devotees. Since it has already been said that his plan is hard to comprehend. Correct. So for devotees, he only gives happiness and suffering, but it's not easily understood. Why does he do this? So now Yudhishthira Maharaj may say, oh, why does he do? Let me just go and ask. He is here only, right? Krishna is just standing next to me. So Vishnu says, no, not like that. Eshvai Bhagavan Sakshad Adyo Narayana Puman Moyan Maya Lokam Budhas Charati Vishnishu. Bhagavan Krishna, Eshvai Bhagavan. He is here. The original Narayana, Sakshad Adyo Narayana, the Purusha, Puman, who bewilders the world with his energy. Mohan Maya Lokan secretly moves in the Yadava family. Gudha Charti Vrishnishu. So here he is saying that, but how can you say that it is all dependent on the Lord, and no one knows the plan of the Lord when the Lord is at this moment right in front of you? How can you not know his plan when you can ask him? In reply, Bhishmadev speaks this verse. So these are the questions of Yudhishthira Maharaj that Vishwanath is saying. And then Bhishmadev is replying in his answer to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He bewilders us with his energy. Even if asked by Bhishma, the Lord will not speak, but instead will evade him by answering, am I so intelligent? Even if he says something, he still bewilders everyone. Even if the Lord will give some answer, but you cannot understand that answer. That is the meaning. Therefore, his plan is to be followed, but is not subject to inquiry. We have to just follow his plan, but we cannot ask what is his plan and how does it function. Okay, why the suffering is coming, why the happiness is coming in our life, one cannot ask. And then the final shloka he says. So he says, O king, I'm skipping the shloka in the concern of time. O king, Nipa, Lord Shiva, Narada, sages of the heavens, and Lord Kapila know the most secret anubhavas of Krishna. Veda asya guhyatamam anubhavam. Though not his intentions, they don't know his intention. Okay. So, but they can see his activity. what he is doing. Who? Shiva, Narada, all the demigods, Kapila, everyone. So here he gives in the commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Shiva and others knows particular actions of Krishna. Those actions he chooses to reveal to them. Only those he chooses to reveal, they can know. Like Brahma, Vimohan, Lila, we know that what he chose to reveal, that only was revealed. Okay. And when he chose to reveal, then only it was revealed, not otherwise. But not his intentions, his real form or his real powers. Seeing that Krishna is controlled more when he sees his devotees who generate prema in him, the knower of rasa infers that there is intense prema in Siddha and Sadhaka devotees. So this is a very important statement. Here, we'll pay our attention here. So here he is saying, seeing that Krishna is controlled more when he sees his devotees. So that means devotees also control Krishna. Which kind of devotees? Who generate prema in him, not ordinary devotees only. Okay. Those who generate prema in him, to the degree they have prema for the Lord, to that degree they can control. Okay, as we have seen that Mother Yashoda is able to bind also Lord Krishna. Then the knower of rasa infers that there is intense prema in Siddha and Sadhaka devotees. Both the devotees are said to be here having intense prema. Who? Siddha and Sadhaka. That is point to be noted. Okay, that is Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary that both Siddha and Sadhaka have prema. So they may vary in the degree, but both of them have. So based on this, we will see the next section also, that how both the Siddha and Sadhaka devotees, practicing devotees as well as the perfected devotees, okay, both have some prema to the Lord, and by that the Lord actually takes care of the suffering or happiness coming into their life. They are not just thrown into the cycle of karma like that. Okay, so they are not undertaken by the karma sachiva, that which gives the results of their past pious and bad deeds, but they are undertaken by the daiva sachiva, that is the Lord himself takes care of the happiness and suffering coming in their life. That is the point to be noted. Okay, he then concludes that Krishna is the cause of difficulties for devotees in order to increase their devotion to that level. Correct. So here is the explanation why Krishna is actually giving suffering to his devotees. Krishna is cause of difficulties for devotees to increase their devotion. So if in the devotee's life, in our life, if there are difficulties coming, sufferings coming, then we should understand that Lord is wanting us to increase our devotional service, the level of our devotional service, the love for the Lord. So when yesterday we were hearing a lecture of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, so he was explaining also that the sufferings in the devotee's life are like the signboards, which are directing towards the Lord. Okay, that you should take shelter of the Lord. Okay, they are like signboards. They are not themselves to be taken shelter of, but they point to the person whom we should take shelter. And we should know the purpose of that suffering to increase one's devotion. Shiva, Narada, and Kapila know this. One sees an increase in prema in Draupadi and others when their difficulties increase. Like we have seen Draupadi, she raised both of her hands and then she called, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, and then cried out when she was in suffering, in difficult situation, right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes a very famous shloka, very, very important shloka. So, Yasyaham anugrihnami harishe tadhanam shanay tato adhanam tejantyasya swajana dukkha dukkhitam. So this is the shloka in the 10th canto, 88th chapter, text number 8, which is a very, very important shloka and an important following commentary on it, based on which our rest of the discussion is there. So if you have been inattentive till now, I request you to be kindly be attentive now. So the translation is as here. If I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. Okay. So when he especially favors someone. So now whom does he especially favor? Let's see. Okay. Thus, the difficulties the devotees experience are not prarabdha karmas, since they are given by the Lord alone, who wants to benefit the devotees. Okay. So point to be noted here, as I told earlier, that the difficulties the devotees experience are not prarabdha karmas. They are not due to their past good or bad karma. They are given by the Lord alone, who wants to benefit the devotees. That means the time is not the conveyor belt of their karma. but time is the conveyor belt carrying the will of the Lord for such devotees. Okay. However, this is not an inclusive rule. Sometimes the Lord increases his devotees' bhakti without giving problems to him. Not that every time the Lord has to give difficulty. So even when Sudama Brahmana approached, it's not that Lord said, no, 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 I cannot give you any wealth. You have to suffer, then only your bhakti will increase, your love will increase only when I don't give you. No, he gave him the wealth. And then his bhakti also increased. Dhruva Maharaj, what did he say? No, no, I will not give you the abode which is greater than your grandfather. No, he didn't say, he gave him. And then by that his love increased. So Lord is not a sadistic person who makes us suffer necessarily to increase our love. Okay. So what it takes to increase our love, he does that. Okay. So if it takes for us to undergo some suffering to increase our love towards him, increase our devotional service, he will give it. If it takes to give us some happiness in our life, some satisfaction, some accomplishment, some feeling of worthiness in our life, then he will give that. Okay. Sometimes we also do services and then it becomes a successful service which gives some results. Lord gives the results because he makes us understand that, okay, yes, I am also worth of doing something for the Lord. And then one becomes encouraged in his devotional service. So like that he's saying. So he's not a sadistic person. Thus it is said that no one knows the plan of the Lord. Shiva and Narada know the anubhavas or symptoms in the Lord. Other foolish people do not know the anubhavas, like Krishna, allowing himself to be tied up. They explain it as some sort of fake display, like that he's saying. Okay. So does anyone has any questions till now what we discussed before we go to the next topic? Okay, so I'm just going to quote a section from Madhurya Kadamini that how devotee suffering is not due to his prarabdha karma, it is only by the will of the Lord. So does anyone have any persistent questions? Then we can take, otherwise we'll go ahead.
Hey, Guru.
Yeah.
One question I have is, so this is it pertaining to only pure devotees or a practicing devotee when we say devotees?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. A very nice question. Yeah. As we discussed a few slides earlier, both sadhakas and siddhas were mentioned. Okay. And again, when we see here, the shloka, yasyaham anugrinami harishe tad dhanam shne, it's the translation is I especially favor someone. So it seems that it is for those who are like the pure devotees or the elevated devotees or the perfected devotees. But when we are going to see the next section, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation in Madhurya Kadambini, it is saying that it is for a sadhaka also, even a person who is having bhajaneshu spriha. Bhajaneshu spriha means a desire to perform devotional service. He has not yet received, shraddha. Shraddha means heart. Dha means to give. He has not yet given his heart to the Lord, but he is just having a spriha, a desire, a slight desire that I want to perform devotional service. From that time, Lord takes over. Okay. And then I can give you one more reference. Ajamila, it is mentioned that when he chanted the Lord's name, so the phrase comes that yatascha tad vishaya matihi. So tad vishaya matihi refers to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Lord's mati resides in a person who has once chanted his holy name. So once chanting holy name, Ajamila was not a devotee. He neither called the Lord also. But it says that Lord's mind was dwelling on him. So you can go to the 6th canto, chapter 2, shloka number 9 and 10. A beautiful commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is there. There you can read. So he mentions yatascha tad vishaya matihi, that Lord's mind was dwelling on Ajamila because he once chanted the holy name. Okay, so that is one point. Okay, that once chanting, Lord's mind dwells on the person and he takes care of that person. What to speak of the sadhakas who are having faith in the Lord, and then they are also consistently every day chanting the holy names of the Lord with faith. Okay, so we will see more proofs of that in the future slide. Okay, anyone else has any questions based on what we discussed till now?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I got a question about the verses 3:25-38, you said that devotees in the spiritual world avoid enjoyment. Can you just say a little bit, just bit about it? I didn't understand
The
it.
devotees in the spiritual world are never deprived of any enjoyment. They are not avoiding. It is mentioned that they are never deprived of any enjoyment. I mean, they have
What is
all the
that?
facilities to. Sorry.
I mean, I didn't understand it, Prabhu.
Yeah, as we know, spiritual world's nature is that it is full of Sachidananda object, and the devotees would like to serve the Lord with all the assets available to them. So the devotees enjoy serving the Lord. That is the basic foundational understanding of spiritual world. Okay, Vaikunta. Okay, and then whatever assets are required for their service to the Lord in varieties is all available in the spiritual world, and by the service they enjoy. Okay, like that. So they are
So
given sarishti, that means opulence equal to the Lord, samipya, liberation, that is like being near to the Lord, like that. So there are different kinds of liberation. Yeah. Yes, Mati.
So they don't enjoy, but they just serve to the Lord.
Yeah, the service is
Sri Krishna.
enjoyment, right? The service enjoyment. The whole context of the shloka is not about spiritual world. The context of the shloka is about the wheel of time does not afflict suffering on them in the spiritual world. That is the context.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Prabhu, another question is, how does the Lord Narad and Shiva know the Sri Krishna's anubhava or symptoms?
yes. So that is mentioned, Mataji, that they know to the extent the Lord reveals to them. Okay. They don't know fully. Okay. They know the plan of the Lord only to the extent he reveals to them.
So
Okay.
Lord chooses to reveal.
Lord chooses to reveal. Like Brahmaji, as we know in Brahma Vimohan Leela, he chose to reveal some of his aspects, right? Yeah, in that way. Okay.
So so what is the most, like when you absorb in Krishna conscious, Sri Krishna, then will Sri Krishna choose us to reveal to us?
Yes, Mataji, yeah. So that is a very beautiful verse mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Yatha Yatha Parimrijyate Aso. So Mad Punya Gatha Shravana Abhidhane, Tatha Tatha Pashyati Vastu Shukshmam. Yeah, Chakshur Eva Anjana Samprayuktam. That is the shloka. Actually, it says that Yatha Yathatma Parimrijyate Aso Mad Punya Gatha Shravana Abhidhane. As much as a person, as a devotee, engages in mat means Lord is speaking this verse, Punya Gatha, in hearing, chanting about my glories, Shravana Abhidhane, by the methods of hearing all that. Then what happens? Tatha Tatha Pashyati Vastu Sukshmam. To that degree, he will experience the subtleness and the essence of the devotional service, the tattva of devotional service. Krishna tattva, prema tattva, rasa tattva, bhava tattva, all these tattvas will be revealed to the devotee to the degree he is advancing in devotional service by mat shravana punya abhidhane. Okay, that is the verse which is quoted. So as we progress, we will understand this. And another shloka which is said is that Bhakti pareshanubhava viraktir anyatra chaishatrika ek kala. So here it said that bhakti par ish anubhava, that is the growth of devotional service in one's life. Par ish anubhava, that means the experience of the Lord. Okay, nama, guna, rupa, and lila. And then virakti, that is renunciation. All three will parallelly manifest in one's life as he advances. Okay.
And
is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, and Prabhu, you just said before the verse before the another before. I mean, the verse you said, and before there's a one verse you said, Prabhuji, can you tell me about that? I really didn't understand. Please.
Yeah. So that verse is saying that as and when we hear the Lord's glories,
So the hearing and chanting is important.
Yes. Hearing and chanting, when we do about the Lord, then we get slowly purified. And as and when we get purified, the more and more of the Lord's tattva is revealed to us. Okay.
So we just need to hear, just hearing, but so we don't need to use our intelligence to understand.
Yes, Mataji, yeah. So the intelligence is given by the Lord, which is a facility to understand what we read, what we chant, what we hear, right? So the intelligence has a function of discrimination and the ability to understand things. So we should use it. Okay. But we should not use it in a material sense, but we should use it to understand the scriptures, and then scriptural logic we should use. Okay, Shastri.
So what about Prabhu, that some of us we don't got that level of intelligence, so we just hearing, we'll just keep on hearing.
Yeah, to whatever level we have intelligence, to that level we can hear and then try to understand. And if we have some understanding which is not able to come, we can ask questions. Okay, and every devotee has some level of devotional intelligence. Okay, it's not absent. Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss the next section.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I got one point. Can I ask Prabhu?
Yeah, if it is something short, we can take. Otherwise, it will be
Yeah, I'm Sukakar Krishnadas. Actually, I'm initiated in 1993 and Brahminical in 1998 from Dubai, Jayapatak Sai Maharaj. Now we are hearing every day that as you go to the devotional service, wherever we are, we want to be under your lotus feet, whether it is a worm or I am not praying like that. I'm just wanting to Antakale Chamameva remember Krishna, and I want to go back home in this life, because the miserable life of material world has been shown by Devahuti by his son. Now the question is that as a devotee, you are not supposed to ask that you want to go back home, back to God. And all the devotees are telling, whether you're in heaven or hell, I just want to be in some devotee's family. I am asking that I want to go back home because whatever devotee has been told that it's so miserable in the womb of the mother, no more birth I want. I want to go back home. So it is a wrong desire to go back home in this very life. And I'm not so confident that whether I'm in a worm or here. No, I want to be in the Supreme Lord Goloka. I want to serve him there. Is it the wrong demand?
Okay, Prabhuji, as your question is very nice question, I understand, but it's not directly connected to our session. I'll answer it in short. Okay, and please don't ask follow-up question. If there is something we can take at the end, I will just answer in short. It's not directly connected to our session. So it's not a wrong desire to have a desire to go to the spiritual world and then serve, because Prahlad Maharaj also in his prayers, he says that the material world has so much of distractions, okay, that I cannot do my devotional service continuously. So I want to perform my devotional service continuously. So please, I want to go to spiritual world and serve you. Now, the desire is not wrong. But if somebody has an ulterior motive of going to spiritual world and enjoying and then just relaxed like that, then it is not a good desire. But somebody has a desire to serve the Lord in the spiritual world, it's not a wrong desire at all. That is the goal of our life. And that automatically Lord takes care. And the devotee doesn't see spiritual world only something which we go at the end of life. It is very much experienced in the life of a devotee when one is in material world itself. So one doesn't make a transition something suddenly at the time of death. It is very much experienced in this material world also. Okay, thank you.
One more related to this chapter only. You said that the sound vibration.
At the end. Actually, otherwise it will be very late for other devotees.
Okay.
Yeah. Please note down your question. We can take it then.
Okay. Yeah.
So now, as we were discussing that, okay, whether this suffering is only for sadhaka or whether this is personally taken care by the Lord for a siddha devotee only, or it's for a very, very elevated devotee only, for whom it is. So here it's mentioned by Vishwanath Charan Thakur in Madhuri Kadamini, devotee suffering is not due to his prarabdha karma. Okay. So now let's discuss. This is third shar of nectar. This is Anat Nivritti chapter. Anat Nivritti is very much considered to be in the stage of sadhana. It is not a perfected stage, right? So this section is quoted from Anat Nivritti section. That means it is which section? It is for a sadhaka. It is not for a perfected devotee. Okay. In that context, this discussion is happening. Remember. Okay. Devotee suffering is not due to his prarabdha karma. Some not only suppose the presence of namaparad due to the absence of symptoms of prema and traces of sinful activity in devotees who are practicing the devotional processes such as kirtana, but they also suppose the absence of destruction of the reactions of previous karma by observing the presence of ordinary material distress. So some people see that devotees are suffering, so they suppose that they are having the absence of destruction of their previous karma. So why will people suffer if they don't have any karma? Just now we said, right? oh, devotees don't have any karma, then they should not suffer, right? No, it is not like that. Some people suppose it that way, but actually it is by the will of the Lord. That's what we are going to see. Okay. So devotee suffering is not due to prarabdha karma. How? We can see is Ajamila's example given. However, Ajamila named his son Narayana and called that name many times every day in what has been ascertained to be in an inoffensive manner, right? Ajamila chanted inoffensively. Still, he did not manifest the symptoms of prema. Moreover, he was also inclined to sinful relation with a prostitute, correct? Yudhishthir had achieved the association of Supreme Lord himself and was thus certainly free from past karmic reactions. Okay, before we go ahead. So Ajamila's example was said, he chanted the name of Lord Narayana, and we also said that Lord Narayana's mind was dwelling on Ajamila, correct? And he was directly under the care of Narayana now. How is it that he was addicted to such sinful things? How can we understand all these things? That is the point. Okay, so now Yudhishthira Maharaj's example is said that he has achieved the association of Supreme Lord. What to speak of chanting once? He was certainly thus free from past karmic reactions. Still, he had to suffer many apparently ordinary material distress, material miseries. So the analogy is given as a tree bears fruit only in proper season. The holy name, though pleased with an offenseless person, will reveal its mercy to him only in due time. So Ajamila chanted the holy name once, but the holy name did not reveal the whole manifestation of the removal of karma at that moment only. Just like the trees bear fruits in time, like that, the Ajamila's reactions were removed in due time. For the devotee, accumulated sins committed due to previous bad habits have no effect, like the bite of a serpent without his poisonous fangs. So it's mentioned in the Anath Nivriti section that for the devotee, such a devotee, accumulated sins committed due to previous bad habits have no effect, like the bite of a serpent. The sickness, lamentation, and other sufferings undergone by devotees are not the reactions to sins in previous life. That is not by their prarabdha karmas. That's what is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti. The Lord has said, Nirdhanatva Maharogo Mad Anugraha Lakshanam. The awesome affliction known as poverty is in fact the sign of mercy. And then the same shloka Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes in the Madhuri Kadamini. The Lord himself has said, Yasyaham anugrinami harishyata dhanam shane tato adhanam yadarantyasya swajana dukkha dukkhitam. If I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth, then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. A man suffers misery because of loss of wealth. He suffers further because of rejection of his relatives because he is poor. This suffering being given by the Lord is not the result of karma. Even the happiness given to the Lord's devotees is not result of karma, but rather an unrequested result of bhakti. So that is the point. It is an unrequested result of bhakti. Okay. The happiness and distress which appear to be prarabdha karma are given by Lord himself. The Shrutis say, Bhavad Uttha Subha Ashubhayoho. When a person realizes you, he no longer cares about his good and bad fortune arising from pious and sinful acts. Since it is you alone who control this good and bad fortune. See, it is said for a devotee that he no longer cares about his good and bad fortune. He is completely dependent on the Lord. But in today's shloka, as we saw, Vritrasura is completely dependent on the Lord, but Indra is not dependent completely on the Lord. Yeah. So this is going to be a little slight different discussion. So what I'm going to do is directly go to the section which is relevant for us. Okay. So that we can understand what we are trying to discuss. Yeah. 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 I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah. Okay. I hope it is visible now. Yeah. The devotees' sinful reactions are completely destroyed. Non-devotees retain only prarabdha karma upon chanting the holy name. So this is the distinction made, that devotee who chants the holy name, like even Ajamila, he chanted the holy name once offenselessly. Okay, his all karma, sinful reactions were destroyed. Non-devotees retain their prarabdha karma only. So what is the quotation for this? So for this, there is a quotation of Srimad Bhagavatam 6.12.8. So he says that as the worshippers of the Lord desire, by the chanting of his holy names, they see their sinful reactions dwindle to nothing. even the reactions they are about to suffer. And when other people somehow chant his names, they need suffer only that part of their karma already manifest, that is prarabdha karma. So very, very important shloka that is to be noted here. Okay, so what we understand from this, two kinds of people are mentioned in this shloka that I said earlier, devotee and non-devotee. A devotee who worships the Lord. Okay, and then by chanting of his holy names, they see their sinful reactions dwindle to zero, nothing. Even the reactions they are about to suffer. So that's what is said in the Brahma Samhita also. Karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhajam. If you go and read the translation, so it says that there are two kinds of people. One is from Indra to Indragopa. All of them are suffering their reactions due to their karma. But it says kintu cha bhakti bhajam. But kintu means but. Cha bhakti bhajam. Those who are bhakti bhajam devotees, karmani nirdhati. Their karma is destroyed. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajam. Like that he says. So here also the same thing is mentioned. That their karmas dwindle to zero. Who? The worshippers of the Lord's desire. And those who are people who are not his devotees. When other people somehow chant his names like Sanketyam, Parihasyam, Stoba, Hela, by some indication or by some means, they need suffer only that part of their karma which is already manifest. That is Prarabdha. So let's read the commentary of Sanatana Goswami. What he says. This explains why the devotees engaged in all powerful process of Nam Sankirtana may sometimes still feel unhappy. In the beginning of their practice, they may carry some remnants of their past sinful karma. In the beginning of their practice, okay, it is mentioned, okay, they may carry some remnants of their past karma, but the Lord's name very soon cleans those remnants away, including the reactions about to be suffered and even those already manifest prarabdha in the body and mind. So that is the case of devotees. So somebody, as he was asking whether it happens only for great devotees or what. No, it's mentioned that it's happening just for the beginners of the devotional service. Those who have developed bhajaneshu spriha, just desire that I want to chant, I want to read, I want to attend the lecture. For them it's happening. Lord is taking care like that. And then he says, only if devotees for some reason want to keep their karma, is that karma not removed. As the Lord says in Hari Bhakti Suddhodaya, karma chakram tu yat proktam avilangyam surasurahe mad bhakti prabalair marter vidhi langhitam eva tat. Mad bhakti prabalair means by the power of my devotional service, he is saying. What he says, the cycle of karma I have described is insurmountable. For whom? Demigods and the demons, Sura and Asura, as we were reading in today's purport. Sura and Asura, they cannot overcome the cycle of karma. But no, that mortals empowered by devotional service have already escaped it. So those who are engaged in the Lord's devotional service have already escaped that. Okay. Sometimes non-devotees chant the Lord's holy names in Namabhas, but that is casually or unintentionally. If they somehow or other avoid offenses in their chanting, they too are absolved of their sinful reactions. Except for their prarabdha karma, the reactions already manifest. These they must suffer, and by that suffering, their prarabdha karma also is depleted. So as we were discussing earlier, Hare Krishna. Just 1 minute. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So point to be noted here. Sometimes non-devotees chant the Lord's holy names in Namabhas. That's what Ajamila did, right? He chanted in Namabhas. Means Abhas means a reflection of the holy name. Casually or unintentionally, non-devotees chant. If they somehow or other avoid offenses, they should not be chanting offensively. Offensively means to have hatred, to have malice, to have envy towards devotees or the Lord. If they have these things, then the holy name will not give its full effect. Okay. But if they don't have these, what happens? They are too absolved, they too are absolved of their sinful reactions, except for their prarabdha karma. The reactions already manifest. Their prarabdha will not go away, but they will be absolved of all aprarabdha karmas. Who? Non-devotees. They must suffer, and by that suffering, their prarabdha karma is also depleted. So whatever is to be undergone in this life, they have to go through, and then they will be liberated like that. Okay. So that's what is the understanding here. Okay. So that was the context of discussion here about that whether the devotees suffer or not. Okay, so devotees surely undergo suffering or happiness, but it is directly only under the direction of the Lord, Daiva Sachiva. But non-devotees undergo the suffering or happiness that is by the karma of their previous life. But devotees don't do like that. Okay. For devotees, what to speak of devotees? Even ones who has chanted like Ajamila, their reactions are removed by the holy name. Okay. If they have chanted inoffensively. Yeah. So that was the discussion on second thing. So now coming to the shloka of today, that time is the one who gives the results of all the people. The last, I will take 5-10 more minutes. Okay. And then we can take questions. So here it's mentioned that the Lord who actually is the karma sachiva also, how does he ordain the karma of the various living entities? So that is explained in the section of Bhagavad Gita, which I am discussing here. Okay, so this is from the 18th chapter, which is mentioned. So the chapter 18, shloka number 13 onwards, this is mentioned. So the topic of this third part is how are the results of various activities given by Karma Sachiva for non-devotees? And what are the factors involved in accomplishment of such a work? So that's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that how this happens. So Lord Krishna is quoting from the Sankhya Yoga system of philosophy. He says, O mighty armed, this is 13th shloka. O mighty armed one, learn from me the 5 factors necessary for completion of action, which are mentioned in the Vedanta, which speaks about the destruction of karma. And then he speaks what are the 5 factors which are present for any work to happen or for it to become successful. Okay, what are the 5 factors involved? So he says that these factors are Atra Panchamam. What are they? Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta devam cha atra panchamam. 5 factors. Atra Panchamam. What are they? First, it is Adhishthanam. Srila Prabhupada says that as the body. Okay. And also he says it as the place where the activity is performed. Okay. That is like the Kurukshetra war was performed at the holy place of Kurukshetra. And that's why we see that Dhritarashtra was so much in perplexity that, oh, what is going to happen? Such a holy place, they are going to fight. Whether my sons who are non-righteous, are they going to win or not? Like that he was thinking. So that is Adhishthanam. And also it refers to the subtle and gross body. Then second one is Tatha Karta. Karta is the, the title given to person, the false ego, okay, or the person, like that. Okay. The entitlement, okay, like the explanation is given, like somebody is wanting to do cooking. So until unless he is entitled to be a cook, he feels that, oh, I cannot do cooking only. So only when he is told, no, you start cooking, and until unless he is self-inspired, he is said to be okay, he is self-inspired, then he can learn cooking. But the person, when he is given entitlement, oh, now you are a cook, then he goes and starts doing cooking, then he can learn the cooking. So that entitlement or the kartaram, the false ego, that is important also for the activity to happen and the accomplishment of the result. And then third is karanam, the senses of various types. So this specifically refers to the subtle bodies. And then vividhas cha prithak cheshta. So the cheshta can refer to 2 things. Srila Prabhupada explains as the various endeavors. And then Baldev Vidyabhushan and Vishwanath Chadakar say that the life airs with various functions. Okay. So yeah, anyone, life airs are actually making us do the endeavor. Yeah. And then Daivam, that is the most important here, which is the context of the shloka of today. That Daivam is the one which is giving result. That's what Vritrasura is going to say in the next 5-6 shlokas all together. So if you understand this concept, then that will be easy. That how the Daiva, super soul, is actually the benefactor of a person, and he is the sanctioning doer, as we started our discussion in the beginning. He is the sanctioning doer. He is sanctioning that what is to be happening with the jiva, like that. Okay, so we'll just read this commentary of Baldev Vidyabhushan and then take if there are some questions. The verse enumerates the 5 causes. That which is ruled, adhisthayate, by jiva is called adhishthanam. So what is ruled by jiva? His body, correct? So he is the kshetragya of his body. This indicates the body. The doer, that is second factor, karta. is the Jiva. The Shruti state that the Jiva is the knower and doer. In statements such as Esha hi drishta srishta, he is the seer and the doer. So in what sense we should understand Jiva is doer? He is the desiring doer. He is not the performing doer. He is not the sanctioning doer. Whenever Jiva is said to be doer, please remember, he is to be said only a desiring doer. Okay, he can only desire. And the next, the author of the Vedanta also says, Gyato eva, the Jiva is knower. Karta. Okay, so he alone is the agent, not Prakriti. Okay, Shastra Artha Vattavat, because he gives the scriptures, because this gives the scripture a use. Yeah, correct. Otherwise, if Jiva was not the doer, everything Prakriti was doing, then what is the use of scripture to give good advice or bad advice? It not be of having any use, right? And then there is a footnote to that by His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj. He says, the scriptures are meant for humans, giving them directions for action. If the Jiva is not an agent, what is the use of scripture? Scripture is of no use to give directions to Prakriti. Prakriti is the only agent. The Prakriti is not the only agent. Prakriti is the performing doer. The Jiva is the desiring doer. He desires based on the instruction of the scriptures. Okay. And then based on that, the Prakriti gives the results. And then Lord is the sanctioning doer. He sanctions. Karanam refers to the senses like the ear, the mental faculties. They have differing functions. Prithak vidam in accomplishing the actions. Prithak cheshta refers to, that is the fourth factor, cheshta. Differing functions of various types of prana. Okay, and then footnote says that cheshta cannot mean activity, because activity is the subject which is constituted of the 5 factors. The activity itself is being explained here. That cannot be a factor in the activity itself. So Daivam refers to the Param Brahma, worthy of worship by all. So that is the super soul. So he is the 5th element in the accomplishment of action, among the causes of action. This means that the Lord Hari, the Antaryami, is the chief cause. He is the chief cause of all the accomplishments. Those who are convinced that the body, senses, pranas, and jiva are only assistant cause, and the Lord is the initiator of action, those people who thus reject the desire for results for themselves and concept of being the doer are consequently not bound by actions. This is the meaning. So as we know, in the Bhagavad Gita previously also come, Brahmani adhaya karmani, that one who does his activities based on the foundation of Brahmana. That is the direction of the Supreme Lord, and in the scriptures, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha. And then what he does? Nasa lipyeta papena. He will not get lipta or encumbered or entangled in the papa. Then what will happen? Padma patra imam basha. Just like a lotus leaf is untouched by water, even though in the water. So even though a person is in the material world, if he follows the direction of the Lord and the scriptures, then he will not be touched by the papa or sinful actions like that. Okay. So that's a long purport, but in summary, this was the slide. And then that's what happens to our life also, any person's life also, when we can see. So for a devotee, it is directly given by the Lord. It is will of the Lord which is coming in the Lord's devotees, and then he gives the sanction to happiness or the suffering to come in his devotee's life, so that his prema or his love can increase towards him. If it requires happiness, he gives happiness. If it requires suffering, he gives suffering. But for a non-devotee, for him, these 5 factors are working in a way that his results are to be accomplished, and it is completely under his previous past bad or good activity. That's what is the case with Indra, but not with Vritrasur. So Indra is completely dependent on his past karma. And when there is good time, he is victorious and he is ruling the heaven. When there is bad time, he loses to Bali Maharaj, and then he is not able to rule, and he has to run here and there hiding like that. So in among all the 5 factors, if we consider the very important, most important factor is super soul, Daiva. That is also to be understood for a non-devotee, what was his past, because super soul is not giving any good or bad thing. He is just the person who is sanctioning. Whatever we did in past, the non-devotee, he did in the past, that's what comes in the next life, and the super soul ordains it. Okay. And it is said that the cheshta, a person is only one factor. It is not that all that depends on the result is the cheshta factor. No. The cheshta may be sometimes 10% in giving the result. And the previous life, daiva, good activities, maybe the 90%. Like suppose somebody getting a very, very good salary, even though he has not studied much. That means what? His cheshta has been maybe something very small factor in his accomplishment of the wealth. But previous life, he must have done something very good, because of which actually his Daiva is favorable and then he is getting the results. But somebody we can see he has undergone 30-40 interviews and he has studied a lot. He has a lot of knowledge also, but he doesn't get a job also. That means his Daiva factor is very, very bad. It's like almost 100% he is putting his chesta and endeavor, but the Daiva factor is only 0% in his life. So he doesn't get any result only. So he is putting his 100% endeavor, but the whole and soul of the result is depending on the super soul or the Daiva past life. The result is going to come only by that. So how much he puts endeavor, it cannot work out like that. So we should understand that accomplishment of results, whether good or bad, for a non-devotee happens by these factors, and it happens by the will of the karma. And it doesn't happen by the will of the Lord. It happens by the previous karma. Okay, not will of karma. Yeah. Will of the Lord takes care of the devotees, and the karma of the past life takes care for a non-devotees. Okay. So that's what was the discussion for today. So as I mentioned that at the end we will discuss about the devotee controlling the Lord. So if I have 2 more minutes, I can discuss about the devotee controlling the Lord. So it's a very, very nice pastime which mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is mentioned in the 10th canto, chapter 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, that how Krishna is controlled by his devotees, prema. So this is very beautiful pastime where Mother Yashoda is trying to bind the Supreme Lord. And here it is said, Swamatu Svinna Gatraya Vistrasta Kabrasraja Drishtva Parishramam Krishna Kripya Asit Swabandhane, because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, Parishramam Drishtva. Her whole body became covered with perspiration. Swinna Gatraya Swamatuhu. So Mother Yashoda, she was completely perspiring. And what happened? Vishrastra Kabras Raja. Vishrastra, the all hairs and flowers, everything were falling here and there because of such intense labor. Then Drishtva Parishramam, when the child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, what he did? He became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. Krishna, he saw that Parishramam, then Kripya Asit Swabandhane. Swa means his own self he allowed to be bound. So a beautiful purport is given by Prabhupada and Vishwanath Thakur. I will just read it. So this is in the context that not only a non-devotee is controlled by karma, and a devotee who is a sadhaka is given his suffering or happiness by the will of the Lord. But there is a third class of perfected devotee who Krishna is controlled by. That's what I'm trying to bring out a contrast. So there is a non-devotee who undergoes his karma, and the time conveys the previous good and bad karma for him. There is a devotee who is a sadhaka. For him, in his life, suffering and happiness comes by the will of the Lord. And there is a perfected devotee, Siddha, who is having love for the Lord so much that he is controlling the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada writes, when Mother Yashoda and other ladies finally saw that Krishna, although decorated with many bangles and other jeweled ornaments, could not be bound with all the ropes, okay, available in the house, they decided that Krishna was so fortunate that he could not be bound by any material condition. Thus, they gave up the idea of binding him. But in competition between Krishna and his devotee, Krishna sometimes agrees to be defeated. Like we can see the Sakhas in the spiritual world, they defeat Krishna and then Krishna has to carry them on his shoulder. Thus, Krishna's internal energy, Yog Maya, was brought to work and Krishna agreed to be bound by Mother Yashoda. Okay, and then here it's mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Thakur, as you cannot tie up his waist even with all ropes of the house, then it must be concluded that it is his good fortune that is he should not be bound. So listen, Yashoda, give up this attempt that the gopis are saying. Though the village woman advised in this way, Yashoda was insistent. She was wanting to bind Krishna. Even if Krishna evening comes, I tie together the rope of whole village. I must find out just once the extent of my son's waist. If Yashoda, with desire to do good to her son and being stubborn would not give up her attempt to bind the Lord, then between the Lord and the devotee stubborn prevails. Yeah. Okay, that was Srila Prabhupada's commentary only. Continuing. Sorry. Yeah. Here is Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary. Okay. So here he says, thus, seeing the mother becoming tired, the Lord gave up his own stubbornness and by his mercy allowed himself to be tried. His mercy is the king of all Shaktis, illuminating all else. It melts the heart of the Lord as if it were butter. Mercy's appearance made the Satya Sankalpa and Vibhuti Shaktis suddenly disappear. So what was the Lord's Sankalpa Shakti doing there? Satya Sankalpa Shakti. So Lord was not wanting to be bound. So due to his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, the ropes were not coming to the extent that he was going to be bound. And that was because Vibhuti Shakti, which disappeared when what happened? The shortage of 2 fingers was filled by the effort, parishrama, and mercy, as we generally hear that our endeavor and Lord's mercy are the 2 factors of accomplishment. And then here he mentions that the effort and fatigue due to service and worship, the steady faith of the devotee, Bhakta Nishtha. And so the first word used here is Bhakta Nishtha, that we will remember. And then the mercy of the Lord arising from seeing that effort and fatigue, the steady quality in the Lord called Swanishtha. One is Bhakta Nishtha, which is by the effort of the Mother Yashoda here, Drishtava Parishramam. And second factor is Swanishtha, that is the Lord's consistent or steady mercy for his devotee, that is Swanishtha. So these 2 cause the Lord to be bound. As long as these are not there, the rope remains 2 fingers too short. So when these 2 were there, the Lord was bound. Okay, the Lord himself showed to his mother how only love can bind him. This is what the pastime illustrates. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that there are also perfected devotees whom the Lord is not able to control, but they are going to control the Lord. So in summary, we discussed today that how there are devotees of the Lord like Vritrasur who are completely under the Lord's charge and they are like completely dependent on the Lord. And there are people like Indra, demigods, who are not completely dependent on the Lord, and then they are dependent on their karma also. And then we saw that there are non-devotees, those people who are not dependent on the Lord and don't know anything about bhakti. For them, their past karma is giving them suffering and happiness. Whereas there are other people who are devotees, for them, they are sadhakas, they have even chanted the holy name even once. Then we saw the quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam that how their prarabdha, aprarabdha, everything is destroyed. Okay, if they are devotees. But if they are non-devotees, but somehow offensively they chanted the holy name, like Ajamila, then their prarabdha karma remains, but all the aprarabdha karma, previous life karma, everything is destroyed. Okay, and then we saw the third category, that was the very, very elevated devotees, the perfected devotees of the Lord who are having prema of the Lord, and then they can control by their prema. And then we saw the example of Mother Yashoda. So sorry, I went way beyond my time, but that was the discussion for today. And then in the coming verses, you will see the nature of the super soul, how he guides the various people to get their respective karmas, good or bad. That will be explained by Vritrasur in the coming shlokas. Okay. So I don't know if we have time, anything to take questions, because I have already answered some questions earlier. So whoever is the coordinator, maybe they can let us know.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We are very fortunate to have you today, and the class was very enlightening, and the stretch of the thread and the link was unbreakable. So the explanation was very simple, and I hope that devotees will come up with the questions. I can see that Sukukar Prabhuji is there with his question. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Sukukar Prabhuji. Could you
Hare
please
Krishna, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you, thank you. Adi Bhagavan Prabhu.
It's
Adi Bhagavan Prabhu.
already... Yes. Yeah.
Prabhu, now you told that the holy name, the name can make the whole thing. So there is one Prabhupada lecture I heard that when the snake is biting somebody, he is poisoned. But by the playing of the sound, the snake comes and removes the poison. So when we are chanting, that is also a sound going to the ears of Radha and Krishna. So they will come and remove the poisonous heart and the mind which is totally filled with. So is it comparable that the sound can bring to take out the poison, that this chanting is going to bring Radha Krishna to, or Gaurnita to remove all the anarthas and remove it and with the Atma Pravritti? Is it comparable? Is it linkable? I just want to know.
Thank you for your question, Prabhuji. Yeah. So actually what is mentioned, the first part of your question was that the mantra has some potency to remove the poison of the snake or any other poisonous living entity. That is true. That by Srila Prabhupada also speak that by the mantra one can remove the poison, and
Not mantra. By that playing that tune, the snake comes all the way.
Yeah, correct. That same, yeah, the whatever the snake charmer, he plays that sound. So by that the snakes come, and the Srila Prabhupada speaks about that, how he was in one of the places and all the snakes of the building came out. So similarly, he extends that to the holy name also, that if the material sound can have such effect, so why not spiritual sound can have the effect? That's true. Yeah. So, but as you mentioned, the holy name surely removes all the misgivings of our heart, which are bad elements in our heart, and then the anarth nivritti process takes care that our anarthas in the heart are removed. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, it happens. It's not only the holy name, but all the limbs of bhakti are capable to do it. Holy name is the representative of the all limbs of bhakti. It can be done by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, any limb. Okay. I hope that answers. Let's take
Thank you very
next
much.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Shiksha Guru to Ko Pranam. I don't know the name. Could you please go ahead with the question? I request you to please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Prabhu, they are just saying that by the Sudarshan will of Lord Sri Krishna, the time effect stop. Is it correct? And when it happens, will the Sudarshan of Sri Krishna, by the Sudarshan of Sri Krishna, the time effect stop? Is it correct? And if it's correct, when it does happen?
Yeah,
because I
have not
somewhere.
read about this directly, but I can say that when Jayadratha was hiding from Arjuna, because Arjuna had taken a vow that he will kill Jayadratha before the sunset. So Lord's Sudarshan Chakra actually made it so appear that it's night. And then Jayadratha came out, and then suddenly the Lord's disc uncovered the sun, and then it was day. And then he was killed, yeah. And then that is the only thing I can think of. I don't have any direct reference for anything like Lord Sudarshan Chakra is controlling the time. Okay, but the Lord is omnipotent. He can do anything, and that is not with the outside the Lord's power to do that. Okay.
So, is it the Sudarshan's wheel, the chakra in the Lord Sri Krishna hand? It is like when we are suffering or good or bad, and that karma. So the karma is, he stops through the wheel in his hand, which is called Sudarshan Chakra. Is it something related to it?
No, I have not read about that, Mataji. That Sudarshan Chakra is the instrument for that. Not here also, I didn't read like that. I just understood and read that Lord does it. By which instrument, I don't know. But karmani nirdati kinchide bhakti bhajam. He burns up all the devotees' karma. Those who are performing bhakti.
Prabhu, one thing can I just say, just short, quickly something? Sometimes I got so many
questions if you don't mind, and then take your comment.
Okay.
Yeah, Preeti Vilasini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is regarding one of the slides that you screened about Nama Bhas and Prarabdha Karma. So in that slide, if I remember, you had mentioned that for the non-devotees who are still on the level of Nama Bhas, their Prarabdha Karma is still on, but whereas the Sanchita and the other karmas are wiped out. So my question here is, for again, some
This is what you are talking about. Okay. The quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it was mentioned like that.
was
Okay.
it? I don't think it
I
was.
can show you the slide if you are referring to that, so that I can answer it that way. Is this the one?
And then maybe the next one, where directly as for the non-devotees, there was something mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, that was in the purport.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, here it is. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a shloka which mentions that the worshippers of the Lord desire by chanting of the holy names, they see their sinful reactions dwindle to nothing. That is for devotees. Even the reaction they are about to suffer, that is prarabdha, even that is destroyed. And when the other people somehow or other chant, they are non-devotees, they chant, they need suffer only the part of their karma already manifest, that is prarabdha. That was
Correct.
said. And then you are referring to the slide, I guess this one.
Yeah, this one.
Sometimes non-devotees chant the Lord's holy name in Namabhas, that is casually or unintentionally. If they somehow avoid offenses in their chanting, they too are absolved of the sinful reactions, except for their prarabdha karma, the reactions already manifest. These they suffer. Yeah, yes, Mata, you go on.
So my question is, even for of course, in some slides before we spoke about both sadhana devotees and devotees, all of them, the Lord takes over. Now the question here is connecting these two concepts. As far as I am concerned, for example, I'm chanting. Definitely, I'm not doing Shuddha Nam. It is a mix of either offensive chanting or Abbas chanting. Definitely not Shuddhanam, because I have not received love of God or anything of that kind. So then, as a practicing devotee, I still have my prarabdha to complete, right? Meaning because of my prarabdha.
Correct.
So if we reconcile the two, then most of us still haven't vanquished our prarabdha. We still have prarabdha, though devotional service is supposed to eliminate sanchita and prarabdha karma.
Yeah, yeah. So Mataji, if I understand your question correctly, you have two questions actually. Okay, you have two questions actually. One question you said that you are not sure whether you are chanting the Shuddha Nam, and you are sure that you are chanting Namabhas and mixture with Aparad, Nam, Namaprad. Right? That is the first part you said, right?
And the other thing is, I still have faith in Krishna, meaning I wouldn't classify myself as a person who doesn't have Shraddha or faith that Krishna is everything. So now where do I stand? Because I'm somewhere in between of everything. So what about my suffering? Is it because of prarabdha karma? Because if I'm doing namabhas, I still have prarabdha karma. But then when we started off the conversation, we said devotees do not actually, once you take up devotional service, both is eradicated. Even Nectar of Devotion talks about it. So can you reconcile all points?
Yes, so very nicely you quoted the Nectar of Devotion also. I was going to say that the Kleshagni is mentioned there, that aprarabdha palam papam putam bijam falon mukham Vishnur Bhakti Ratatmana, that is praliyate, it is said, that is completely destroyed. Okay, so one who is engaged in the Vishnu Bhakti, and there Rupa Goswami and Jeev Goswami, both of them explain what does the destruction of prarabdha actually mean. So it doesn't mean that one's parents will change. It doesn't mean that one's intelligence will change or anything like that. But what it means, the destruction of prarabdha means is that he will remain in the same body, but the suffering which was about to come because of his past sinful attitudes and past sinful habits, that is not going to come, because his quality and his activities are both changed by devotional service. There is another characteristic of devotional service, Shubhada, okay, bestowal of auspiciousness. Okay, so it is said that the devotional service bestows auspiciousness also, and at the same time it removes the kleshas, the sufferings, okay, and the karmas. But the prarabdha karma destruction doesn't mean that we will have a different body. No, the two principles are there. First is that the prarabdha karma suffering is not there in the sense that we have changed the qualities in our activities. Before we were devotees, and now as we are devotees, we are changed in our value system, in our Shraddha. Is it right that we have changed?
Yes.
Yeah, that is first point. Second thing, that to keep the confidential nature of bhakti. Okay, even though once chanting of the holy name was sufficient for Ajamila also, what to speak of devotees? Ajamila was not a devotee. Okay, he was chanting Ashraddha Namabhas, means that Namabhas which is without faith, that is a lower level of Namabhas. What devotees chant is higher level, that is explained in Harinam Chintamani, that is called Shraddha Namabhas. That means that which is the reflection of holy name, but with the faith in holy name. So when the devotees chant, they surely overcome their prarabdha karmas. But to keep the nature of devotional service confidential, what the Bhakti Devi does, she keeps the the scene to be looking like that his karmas are still existing and the devotees still suffer. I will give you one example that Rupa Goswami, not Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami writes in Nectar of Devotion. He says, just like your silk cloth, the silk cloth is there, right? If you bring the fire near the silk cloth sufficiently near that it doesn't burn, but it can feel the heat, all the links of the silk cloth are destroyed. And if you just blow on it, it will fly off. But till the time it is intact, it is burnt by fire, but it seems that the cloth is still there. Okay, it seems that, oh, devotees are still suffering by karma. Devotees are still having the complications in their life, even though they are chanting the holy name. It seems like that. Why? To keep the nature of devotional service confidential from those who are non-devotees. Otherwise, they will think, oh, are devotees ek bar Harinam le liya, once we chanted holy name, then everything is, we immediately get liberation. Once chanting holy name, then we go to spiritual world directly, we go to Brahman or whatever. No body exists. Then they will think, oh, I will also chant holy name. And unqualified people will take to devotional service. So that's why, to keep the nature of confidentiality of the devotional service, only qualified persons should take up devotional service. The Bhakti Devi makes us go through the suffering, which is actually will of the Lord, to increase our devotion. But for other people, it looks like, oh, they are suffering. Na? See, the devotee is also having accident, the devotee also die. Like that happens with them also. They also have a loss of wealth or whatever. But it is plan of the Lord. So these two answers we should remember. That first thing is that the prarabdha karma destroy, but actually they don't suffer because of the bad qualities which they had prior to become devotees. Okay, their birth will not change. Their qualities and activities change. Correct? Guna and karma change. Second thing, that to keep the nature of devotional service confidential, the Bhakti Devi makes other people seem that they are also suffering. They are also under the path of karma only. Okay, that's what I have to answer.
Perfect.
Okay. And it will take another session to explain you actually that what is Aparadhanam, actually Aparadhanam, and what is Namabhas and what is Shuddhanam. That if I get into it, will take another half an hour. So maybe you can read in Harinam Chintamani, 3rd chapter. Okay. There it's clearly explained that Aparadhanam is that which is done with the intention of hurting somebody, of being envious of someone, having malice in heart or having hatred towards somebody. That is called Namaparad. Not that having some material design in heart and then we chant is called Namaparad. No, that is wrong understanding. Having material desire in a heart and chanting can be Namabhas. Okay. And it is called Namabhas when one doesn't have this offensive mentality. And it is free of avidya, anartha, and aparadha. These 3 factors, if it is not there, okay, avidya is not there, that means he knows about the Lord, the tattva of holy name. He may not know perfectly, but he knows, oh, Lord and holy name is non-different actually. Yeah, he knows that. And then second thing, he is free of avidya. Okay, avidya and aparadha. He doesn't have the seva aparadha and nama aparadha, all that. Okay, but he doesn't have intention to do them. He wants to avoid them. Okay, and avidya, anartha, and aparadha. So anartha is not that his anartha is 0, then only he can chant namabhas. No, it is not like that. If you read that section, it is completely explained that his anarthas may not be 0, but it is destroyed to the extent that he can chant namabhas and he is not envious or having malice towards some other being. Like that. Okay, you read that chapter, it will be clear. So then we can understand actually sadhaka also can chant namabhas, Kanishtha Adhikari, and Madhyama Adhikari is qualified to chant Shuddhanam actually, if you read that. So when he chants Shuddhanam, he can get to the degree he chants Shuddhanam, to that degree he has prema. Okay. So sorry, it was a long answer, but it required.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. I want to ask neophyte devotee, I want to know about the Prabhabdha Karma. Prabhabdha Karma, kindly explain to me, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prarabdha Karma is explained, Mataji, that which you are going to suffer in this life, or which we are already suffering. Okay, like that. So Prarabdha Karma, which is already given to us. Like we have a human body which is having certain defects. We have certain subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego, like that. Okay, we have certain parents. We have taken birth in some country, some place, already which is ordained to us in this life. And Aprarabdha is which is going to come in future. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I also have one question.
Thank you.
You said that to keep the bhakti confidential, the Bhakti Devi will not reveal, will make sure that the devotee also suffer. But there is a lot of concept of mercy goes to that level, right? So how to differentiate? Because how the Bhakti Devi and the mercy go together at that level? I just need to know that. Could you please explain?
Yeah, what you are meaning by the question, it's not very clear, Mataji. What do you mean by mercy and the effect of yeah, you can explain the question.
Prabhuji, you said that the Bhakti Devi will keep the bhakti as in confidential, right?
Correct. From the non-devotees.
Means to make sure that the non-devotee will not get that feel of the real bhakti. He will say that the devotees are also suffering. But the holy name is so powerful that the non-devotee, if he chants, then he will also get the same mercy, right? So why there is this contradiction? Why the Bhakti Devi will make sure that the non-devotees will look at the devotees in that way? Why there is a contradiction?
Yeah. So one thing is that non-devotees who are not chanting the holy name, they don't chant the holy name. For them, it is kept confidential because they are not qualified to take up to devotional service. And if they see that devotees chanting and they are just immediately giving up the body and going to spiritual world, or they are just becoming vanished like that, then those who are unqualified people, they will tell, "Arey, this process is very fast and it's working." And even though they are not qualified, they will take it. So that is one reason. And another thing is non-devotees who can chant the holy name even once, for them accordingly, proportionately, the mercy is given. Not that there is no mercy. They are given mercy proportionately to the degree their chanting is non-offensive. Okay. And for devotees who have full faith in the Lord, they have Shraddha in the Lord, they want to chant the Lord, they want to please the Lord, they want to please their Guru, and then they chant. For them, the chanting is at another level only. Okay, which is that Lord is directly taking care of their lives, and then he removes the prarabdha and aprarabdha karmas, everything. So in this way we have understood.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We are very grateful to have you. Thank you for enlightening class today, and we are all eternally grateful to you and look forward for your association again in the future. We have Tiffany Mataji and Vrinda Devi Mataji who are very grateful to you, and they are saying that the class was beautiful and inspiring. So, with your permission, let's end our class. Let's offer our obeisances to Prabhuji. Vancha
Kripa Sindhu Piyavata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhagwan Prabhuji ki jai.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Gauranga, Nityananda,
Gauranga,
Gauranga,
Nityananda.
Gauranga. Jai Jai Shri Radheshyam.
Jai Jai Shri
Jai Jai
Radheshyam.
Shri Radheshyam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat to all of you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, same to you. All the
Let's
best.
end the call for today.